Welcome to our video that showcases some of the major highlights from our new release wave version 25.1. We have several features and enhancements spread across many components and services, spanning multiple toolkits that we offer. To begin with, let's take a look at our new OneLake components, which comes along with our SSIS productivity pack. OneLake is a single unified logical data lake for your whole organization, which can process large volumes of data from various sources. The suite of components we offer includes OneLake Connection Manager to connect your instance, source component to read from it, and destination component to write to it. Let's take a quick look at how the components work. In your SSIS package, click on New Connection to add a new connection manager, and from the list, choose OneLake from Kingsoft. In here, add your workspace name, choose the region, and click on Get Token File button. This would open up the OAuth token generator, where you can enter your tenant ID, client ID, secret, redirect URL, and scope. Once done, you could also choose either to authenticate in your default browser or use the in-app feature. Here, we choose the latter. When the prompt comes up, sign in and authorize, which will in turn redirect you to the redirect URL that you had configured along with the code that our component will parse and create the token file. Enter an alphanumeric password of your choice to encrypt the token file and save it. Next, choose the miscellaneous settings as required and click on Test Connection. Once tested, save and close the connection manager, and then we move on to the source component to read. Within a data flow task, drag and drop the OneLake source component to your workspace. Double-click to open it and choose the connection manager in it. The ellipsis next to the source item path will take you to a browser where you can either choose a folder or a file. The item selection mode gives you the option to read the selected item, selected level, or recursively for files and folders. Set a page size, and in the Columns tab, you can find the metadata that you could read. Select the required ones to maximize the performance. Next, let's look at the destination component. And for this, we have a data spawner component that acts as a dummy source. Drag and drop the OneLake destination component and connect the source to it. In the component, choose the connection manager and select the storage service object as either file or directory. The action can be selected between create, move, append, and delete. Let's choose create and look at the columns page to see the metadata for create action has populated. There could be mandatory fields to be mapped based on that. And in the error handling page, let's choose redirect rows to error output to enable the error output. One thing to note is that depending on what action is chosen, the metadata could vary. Let's save and close the component, and we attach the error output to a dummy destination component. Open the error output data flow path, and you can see that it reports the input fields along with the error code, error column, and error message, making it easy to debug, similar to all our destination components. Also, it's worth noting that since OneLake is a storage service, the connection manager can be used along with our other components like Premium Excel, Premium Flat File components, etc. to read from a specific file within it or to write to it. Next, let's move on to Kingsoft's new Databricks components, which also comes along with the SSIS productivity pack. Databricks is a unified platform that offers warehouses for data storage and analysis and querying. In your SSIS package, create a new connection and choose Databricks connection from Kingsoft. In the user interface, enter the Databricks host and choose the authentication mode from the dropdown. We support 4 types of modes, namely Azure Authorization Code that will create a token file using the token generator window, Azure Service Principal by directly using client ID, secret, and tenant ID, Personal Token mode by using a personal token from Databricks, and OAuth M2M machine-to-machine mode, which we'll be using here. Enter the client ID and secret and choose the execution settings as required for polling, and then click on Test Connection. Once tested successfully, save and close the connection manager and drag and drop a Databricks source component from the SSIS toolbox. In here, choose the connection manager and select the object type as either table or query. Let's choose table for now and select the warehouse. Catalog, schema, and table. Note that there is a refresh button next to each dropdown to allow you to refresh and pick any new ones or any changes that has been done. We also provide an option to use external link for efficiently fetching large result sets. The column page will discover the metadata based on the general page settings. In here, you can adjust the data type settings if required. Now, if you choose query option in the general page, you can enter a custom query and conditions as required. The grid on the left side gives you easy access to the tables and metadata to drag and drop to create the query. And variables are available as well to parameterize the query to make it dynamic. The preview button can be used to preview a limited records from the query. Now, let's drag and drop a data spawner as our dummy source and connect it to the Databricks destination component. In here, choose the connection manager and select the warehouse. 5 dedicated actions are supported, namely insert, update, delete, upsert, full sync, and an option to specify a custom command. Let's choose upsert and then select the catalog, schema, and table. If you do not have a table or wish to create a new one, you can click on Create Table button, which will generate a create statement based on the upstream metadata, which can be edited and modified as required. We support bulk upload by selecting the option, and you could set the data format as well as the cloud storage for the bulk upload. By default, the storage would be DBFS or Databricks file storage, and you can choose the path from the browser. Additional configurations are available to streamline the bulk upload. In the columns page, you can map the metadata as required, and since it's upsert, choose the key columns manually. Note that if you have a Databricks supported storage connection created, like Azure Blob, Data Lake, AWS S3, Google Cloud Storage, etc., then these can be used for bulk upload as well instead of the default DBFS. All these comes under our SSIS productivity pack. Now, in the error handling page, you can configure error redirection, and this in turn allows to capture records along with the error code, error column, and error message. In the control flow, we also have Databricks command task that can run commands to your Databricks instance. Drag and drop the task and choose the connection manager. Select the warehouse, and in the command space, you can enter the code snippet. The grid on the left side will help you drag and drop any metadata required to build the command. And SSIS variables can also be selected to make the query dynamic if required. The preview button shows a preview of the result set if any. The output page has an output type option in which you can choose either as no output, single row, scalar, or result set. The page UI changes based on the option you choose. If you wish to write the output as either a single row, scalar, or a result set, you would direct it to a variable of an appropriate data type. If you do not have a variable set up for this, then you could create one from within the task. The same applies for error handling page as well, and you could direct error records to a variable which can be used in a succeeding data flow. In this release, we have also added support for PrestoDB components, which includes a connection manager, source, destination, and a command task in the control flow. Let's see these one by one. Add a new Kingsoft PrestoDB connection manager from the list, and in the user interface, enter the base URL, username, and password for your PrestoDB instance. There are some additional settings for polling if you wish to tweak them, and once done, click on Test Connection, and once tested successfully, you can click on OK to save and close the connection manager. From the SSIS toolbox, drag and drop the PrestoDB source component and double-click to open it. Choose the connection manager and select the object type as either table or query. Let's choose table for now and then select the appropriate catalog, schema, and table from the drop-down list. The refresh button beside each drop-down can be used to refresh it to get the latest one. The columns page has the metadata based on the general page configuration, and the grid on the right allows you to edit the data type properties. Now, let's switch the object type to query, and as you can see, a query is generated for the table we had chosen before. You could also use the grid on the left side to access the tables and metadata to build your own custom query with any conditions or other commands. The preview button shows the first 100 records from the table you have chosen. If a new variable is added in the scope of the package, that shows up in the grid as well. Now, let's use a data spawner as a dummy source and connect it to the PrestoDB destination component. Choose the connection manager, catalog, schema, and table. In actions, we support insert, update, and delete, and you can set a batch size as well for the right actions. In the columns page, map the upstream fields to the PrestoDB fields in the destination. And in the error handling page, you can choose to redirect error records to the error output as in all our other components. In order to log any error code, error message, and name of the error column as received from the server side. Moving over to the control flow, let's see how the PrestoDB command task works. Drag and drop the task from the toolbox and double-click to open it. Choose the connection manager, and in the command space, you could enter your custom PrestoDB command. From the grid on the left side, you could pick either the table names and the metadata, or even use variables to parameterize the expression to make it dynamic in nature. The preview button can show 100 records as preview from the result set. The output page has an output type option in which you can choose either as no output, single row, scalar, or result set. The page UI changes based on the option you choose. If you wish to write the output as either a single row, scalar, or as a result set, you would direct it to a variable of an appropriate data type. If you do not have a variable set up for this, then you could create one from within the task. The same applies for error handling page as well, and you could redirect error records to a variable, which can be used in a succeeding data flow. We have also added a new feature in our premium SQL Server command task and few others, and this would be the output parameters for getting outputs from commands such as stored procedures, for instance. As you can see in our example, you could have a procedure to be executed, and the out parameters can be read using the parameter output grid we have in the output page within the task. This new feature is applicable for Premium SQL Server command task, Premium ADO.NET command task, PostgreSQL command task, Amazon Redshift command task, and Google AlloyDB command task. We have added support for NetSuite REST connections, and this can be chosen as an option from the drop-down in our NetSuite Connection Manager. When REST option is chosen, you could work with either token-based or JWT authentication. In this example, let's choose token-based and enter the required parameters such as account ID, consumer key, consumer secret, token ID, and token secret. Configure any additional settings that is needed and click on Test Connection. Once tested successfully, save and close the Connection Manager. And now, let's take a look at the NetSuite source component using the REST connection. In the NetSuite source component, once the connection is chosen, you would note that this is different from how the SOAP-based settings are. Select the source type in which both object and SuiteQL is supported. Let's choose object for now, which lets you pick the object and metadata from the dropdown. Now, let's choose SuiteQL, and in the command space that shows up in the general page, you can enter a SuiteQL command by following the syntax. Let's give it a quick run to verify the command. SuiteQL offers significant advantages over traditional saved searches in NetSuite, particularly for complex data extractions and analysis, including supporting multiple levels of joins and offering a more straightforward SQL-based syntax, while also providing better query efficiency and improved security. Let's take a peek at the NetSuite destination component, and for this, two data spawners are added as dummy sources to demonstrate parent and child inputs. Connect them to the NetSuite destination component, and in it, choose the connection managers. Select the destination object from the drop-down list, and select the action. And then from the child object settings, choose the child object against the secondary input. In the columns page, you would see a drop-down to map the fields for both parent and child objects. The underscore link ID and the underscore parent link ID in parent and child metadata respectively are what internally connects both the objects and inputs. You could perform the mappings as required in both after mapping the link IDs. In this release, we have also added new Dataverse Connection Manager, source and destination components in our integration toolkit for Dynamics 365. This is in order to maintain consistency with Microsoft's platform branding and naming convention. When adding the connection, source and destination, you would see these as additional components. However, these look and feel the same as our existing Dynamics CRM CDS components. In our Dynamics Dataverse CDS CRM components, we have some additional features added. In the Connection Manager, while working with authorization code, we have added support to specify whether PKCE is enabled or not in your instance. This option is important if you need to specify PKCE as required for your authentication. Also, we have added a new OAuth type called Azure Managed Identities, which can be selected from the dropdown. Managed Identities for Azure resources provide services and applications with an automatically managed identity in Microsoft Entra ID. You can use this identity to authenticate to any service that supports Microsoft Entra authentication without having credentials in your code. In short, managed identities eliminate the need for developers to manage these credentials. And using this, the CRM Connection Manager can obtain Microsoft Entra tokens without having to manage any credentials. The prerequisites and steps are recommended by Microsoft involves creating a managed identity in Azure, authorizing it, and use it in a service, which is similar in comparison to other OAuth types. Moving over to the Dataverse CDS CRM destination component, we have custom API support added as well. Custom APIs are an alternative to custom process actions. Custom process actions provide a no-code way to include custom messages but has some limitations for developers. Custom APIs provide capabilities specifically for developers to define their logic in code with more options. And in our latest version, you could work with custom APIs in Dynamics with our components. Now, another feature to note would be the support for matching criteria for delete action. You could now use manually specified or alternate key to match and delete based on the condition. And with respect to PKCE, which we discussed previously, note that our Dynamics AX FNO and Dynamics Nav BC connection managers also have support to specify PKCE with an authorization code OAuth type authentication. And in our Dynamics Nav BC source components, we have newly added the provision to add expand parameters for child objects. This is basically to enable expand query support for child objects while reading using our source component. We have also introduced import package API support in our Dynamics Finance and Operation destination component. This is suitable for large volume imports and works in tandem with a template file. You could choose the template file from your file system within the Dynamics FNO destination component, along with the other parameters such as legal entity, import project, and job entity name. The template file, as you can see, is in a zipped format and usually contains the manifest file along with others. And then you could work with the columns page to fill the respective metadata. We hope this has helped in understanding the latest features and products and enhancements that we offer. Kingswaysoft, data integration made easy.